Well, you know, there aren't a lot of businesses here in the West that can say that they go back 100 years. The Burns Studio in Boise can. It started back in 1919, and now the owners have decided to retire. Scott Evans caught up with them today. And Scott, anyone who has lived in Boise for any amount of time knows there's an awful lot of history with the Burns Studio.
Mark, there really is. Up until about 1995, the who's who of Boise went through the Burns Studio to have their pictures taken. Now, the owners are selling everything from the cameras to the frames, even to the building. These are pictures from another time, long before we lived in a digital world. In 1919, Grover Burns opened the Burns Studio, a family-run business that would survive nearly 100 years.
The history is the important part, and well, mainly because of the Burns family is part of the history of Boise.
Welcome! Kelly Bickle and his wife Marilyn are the current owners of the studio. Marilyn is the granddaughter of the original owner.
I've been here 32 years.
You grew up here?
I grew up here, and I spent many hot afternoons as a young child in this very room.
These are the mountains.
Kelly took us on a tour.
We're at the Burns Studio in the dark room. This is where we did all of our printing and did the creation of all the old pictures.
Standing there with a faint smell of old chemicals, Kelly told us how generations of families came through the Burns Studio.
Yeah, that was me.
I just picked that up off the ground. How old is that?
Well, that was back when I started here. I wore a tie. We used to say that everybody in Boise came through the Burns Studio one way or another.
With so much history and so many memories, both Kelly and Marilyn were emotional.
Because people have shared their lives with us, so it's very difficult to think about closing the door. Here I go.
Well, it's part of history.
Even though they're selling all their equipment and frames, they're still keeping the studio name. They've gathered upwards of 100,000 negatives over the years.
I used to always say it should be in a museum, and we're going to donate it probably to the city eventually.
In the meantime, they'll focus on their website, boisebyburns.com, giving people access to their pictures from another time, because we now live in a digital world.
So we're going to kind of take a look back to the past and concentrate on making our past work available. Our future lies in the past.
The Bickles say they're selling the studio because someone gave them an offer on the building and they decided that now was the right time to retire. So for the next 2 days, the Burns Studio will sell all of their equipment. You can drop by the studio on the corner of 13th and State from 10 until 5 o'clock to do that, Mark.
And whenever you came across a home that had a family portrait, you'd always look for that iconic Burns at the bottom of that portrait. You would know it. The Burns Studio will also be part of the Boise 150 celebration. It won a grant and will be featured with a display in the Sesqui Shop, as it's known, for the month of July. The studio will show some 30 prints of Boise's city history.